Hi, I'm Gordon C, and today I am playing the Stanley Parable. And I'm starting here because I really like this nice little view within a view screen on the menu. And also, even within the view you can see the little stats for the screen capture program. You can't see them up here in the top left where they actually are on my screen, but you can see them in the view within the view, which I thought was quite nice. Okay, so the Stanley Parable. I'm going to start. It takes quite a long time to load on my computer. Although apparently not this time. I was going to say I'm not going to do too much talking during this, and we'll see why very soon.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, so now we're in the game. I'm actually controlling it. That was the introduction. And it looks a bit like sort of first-person game. It's got the standard WASD controls to move around, and you move the mouse to look. This is my office, and you can click on things. Although there's very few things you can actually interact with in this game, and I almost hesitate to call it a game because it feels more like to me one of those interactive fiction stories, sort of choose your own adventure things, and it's about sort of the nature of playing games and the nature of, I guess, a little bit of work as well. And we'll step through. There's going to be a lot of talking, and the whole point of the game is the sort of narrative sections, or at least I think they're the narrative sections. I think one starts as soon as we walk through the door, or maybe not. So we go out into the office.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah. So I guess now it wants me to go to the meeting room, and it sort of works like that as you go through, and I can click on this door, and you'll see why in a second.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
I'll leave it as an exercise for the viewer to try clicking that door 20 times. So I actually debated after playing this game for a couple of hours whether I should actually even make a video of this. So what I've decided to do is make a very short video that doesn't really tell you that much about the game or that much, just to sort of give you a flavour. So you're not going to be doing much. It's more sort of exploration or walking around. The main point being listening to these little things that the person says to you.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh, so it wants me to go through the left door. And see, you can't go back anymore. And so as you go, I'm going...
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
So you can see I've gone through the wrong door, and it immediately, the sort of the narrative, the story reacts to that.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Yep. And that's...
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
So you go back there and you go back to a different storyline. So each time you make these decisions, and there's various of them, and there's a few little hidden ones as well, you sort of branch into this story. And the story is all about, as you can tell, it's very sort of self-referential about Stanley and what it means for his work and his life. And implicit in that is what it means for the player in playing the game as Stanley, and what you're doing as you control Stanley.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Yes, as the standard player is. The standard player is very bad at following directions. And certainly as a game dev, that's what I found, that players do not follow directions. So I'm being a very standard player, and I'm missing the point and doing the wrong thing. Do not jump. Anyway, so I don't want to show you too much, so I'm just going to show you sort of one ending.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Good job, Stanley. Good job. I am powerful. As the player of the game, I am powerful. And then you start again. And there's many different endings. I played for a couple of hours, and I've probably seen 5 or 6 of the endings. And I think there's certainly more to go. I know, because I've heard people mention a couple that I haven't seen.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
And then and then again, you're on to what it means to be working, what it means to play a game and have narrative. And beyond that, I don't really want to go much further. That was probably one of the quickest and least interesting possible endings you can get. After that, they get really imaginative. And I like this game. I like this, well, I'm not even sure it's a game, but I like the experience of whatever you want to call this. I like it a lot. It's, as I said, you get through the vast majority of it within a couple of hours. And then some of the others, by all accounts, take an immensely long time to achieve. And that's kind of the point, that people will just sit there and, I guess, grind through it. So, what it happens if I go back? There's lots of little messages and little jokes. Oh, and I can turn the computer off. I never actually tried that before. Most of the things you can't do. Can I turn one on? No. Yeah. So yeah, it's more a sort of meditation, because it's not exactly a very high intensity game, more sort of meditation on what it is to play games and work and things like that. And if that's the sort of thing you're interested in for a couple of hours, it's well worthwhile. I've shown you very little. I have not spoiled it too much at all, I hope. Yeah, it's very often on sale. I picked it up on sale for something like 75-80% off. So it was a couple of pounds for at least a couple of hours of entertainment and thought. And I think it's just a very clever game. You're not going to go in here and like racking up a high score. Although at one point it did tell me that I won, but I think it was joking. I think it was...
Stanley stood for a long time in one spot. It's part of a game. He likes to see how long he can go without dying. So far, he's doing excellent. And if he just stays right where he is, I'm sure he'll keep up that good momentum. Let's observe the genius at work.
Yes, the game does mock you somewhat as a game player and the standard sort of gameplay tropes. Yes, so I don't want to show you much more. You've sort of seen the basics of it. I think it's very clever. I think it's very interesting, the sort of things it's saying, and you'll be quite or at least I was quite amused with some of the endings and some of the ways it does it. I particularly like the way it does the if you get to the museum one. I particularly liked going around the museum one as a game developer. Yeah, so that's the Stanley Parable. A couple of hours of thinking about what it is to play games and work, and whether I guess playing games is work, the way that many people play games. And yes, that's it. I'm not going to show you more because, as I said, I don't want to spoil any of the great narrative, because it's all about the narrative. And I'll leave it there. Thank you, and bye.